Fillings. Finance Committee has oppositional recommendations, so the proponent will...
You present the motion, is that right, Ms. Russell? Okay. Ms. Russell, please.
Thank you. I'm Laura Henze Russell, 615 Massapog Avenue. I lived in town for 21 years. I have a 21-year-old son at Tufts. And just to clarify, should I give the presentation first or read the motion first?
I think we need her to read the motion first, yeah.
Okay. The first motion. Great. Okay.
Correct. The first
Article
motion, please.
11. Moved that the town adopt the following resolutions. Section 1. Call upon the town, Board of Selectmen, Board of Health, School Department, and any other relevant committees to consider how they might learn about, publicize, and encourage town residents to get involved on a voluntary basis, to invite people, committees, and organizations to focus on the issues, risks, and alternatives to mercury amalgam in dentistry during the coming year. Section 2. To call upon the President of the United States to direct the Food and Drug Administration to follow the recommendations of its 2010 Scientific Advisory Panel to restrict amalgam use effective immediately. This is a slight change to the printed warrant. They were passed out earlier, and if anyone needs an amended copy, if you stand up, it'll be passed out to you. So I have a brief presentation.
Finance Committee will present its position, and then we can move to your presentation.
Thank you. Approval of this motion would have no binding effect, as it is a citizen petition directing the town. We were so advised by town council. And the Finance Committee believes that this article and this motion would involve scientific and medical issues beyond the purview of its expertise or the expertise of town meeting, and therefore involves issues not appropriate for a town meeting vote. The Finance Committee voted 5-0, 1 abstention against approval.
Okay. We move to discussion of Ms. Russell. So you have a presentation. For point of clarification, does this presentation just relate to Article 11 or the two that follow as well?
I think it would be helpful if I just do it short and sweet for all three, but that I don't read the other articles till we get to the votes.
I think that's appropriate. So this is an article that Ms. Russell spent a topic on which is very personal. Ms. Russell, she's spent a lot of time preparing for this. I've asked her to keep her comments as brief as possible, but she does have a presentation. So, and we have AV, correct? Yep.
Yes. So the reason I'm bringing this to town meeting is for 20 years I had chronic pain, fatigue, sleep, memory problems, mood issues, and it was diagnosed as fibromyalgia. Then between March 2011 and March 2012, I had a year of acute sort of escalating and cascading health problems that nobody could diagnose, and I pretty much gave up hope. Then, by the grace of God, one of my doctors heard a presentation at a conference that symptoms like mine could be caused by a toxicity reaction to dental materials. Small amounts of mercury vapor escape from fillings with heat and abrasion, and people with certain gene types don't clear mercury well, so can develop health problems over time. I was able to get treated and get healthy again by removing the amalgam and following a detoxification protocol. This is new information, and I'd like to help other people in town who may have similar problems or others caused by a hidden health problem and learn about these risks and regain our health. So with your help and signatures, I put on these articles to address the problem. They involve three simple things. One, asking the town on a voluntary basis and its residents to learn more about this issue, the risks and alternatives in the coming year. Two, to reduce the use through informed consent so people will be able to make better choices for themselves and their family and loved ones. And third, to help in the spirit of improving our health and lowering health care costs, which we have a strong shared interest in. Next slide. So very briefly, the first goal is to learn more about the health impacts and alternatives. And for some people, mercury fillings can harm the brain. The silver filling we all grew up with is about 50% elemental mercury mixed with other materials. Mercury is a known neurotoxin. It's now proven with new technology that small amounts do off gas during heat and abrasion and also in contact with other metals in the mouth. Because it's in your mouth, when it off gases, about 80% is inhaled. It's now associated as a factor or cofactor, not necessarily the only cause, but a factor with a number of chronic diseases. And this is new information. The risk type is higher for certain gene types that don't clear mercury well. Next slide. So 2 simple resolutions. 1, let's learn about this. Given that it took so long for health professionals to even consider what the problem was, it means it's not on people's radar screen enough. And 2, there is a logjam at the FDA on amalgam. And we need to break that logjam because they are not following the recommendations of their own scientific advisory panels in 2006 and 2010 to restrict its use with young children, with pregnant women, and with people with a known allergy to mercury. Next slide. So I'm not going to go into the science. We have a lot of smart people here in Sharon, but basically it's a heavy metal. It goes in and kind of gets stuck in different places. It shouldn't be in your cells, and it causes oxidative stress, which is recognized as the cause of a number of chronic diseases. Back up. So central nervous system problems, peripheral nervous system problems, a host of mental things because it messes with your brain, and a host of other problems. The logjam. In 1976, the FDA was asked to classify medical devices. They were kind of new before then, and this was always considered a grandfathered medical device and therefore not even studied. And then after 32 years and a court suit against the FDA, in 2002, they began the classification process. They didn't finish it until there was, again, a court suit in which it was then classified, but only as Class 2, with special warnings and controls to dentists, but not to patients. And unfortunately, the warnings include don't use in people with a known mercury allergy, but patients aren't told about this. And then scientific advisory panels in both 2006 and 2010 said, again, it should be restricted. There was a majority for those positions, but the FDA did not act, has not acted, and there is no timetable for action. There is a little breaking science it's worth knowing about. In September, the leading team that found that there had been safety for children as a result of amalgam use in Portugal reconsidered their findings when they separated boys from girls, that there were significant neurobehavioral deficits and kidney damage in boys of a certain gene type. And then in October 2012, a study out of Yale Medical School found for Connecticut dentists compared to very, matched controls, there is significantly higher prescription utilization in psychiatric, neurological, cardiovascular, and respiratory conditions. Again, not everyone, it's associated with certain gene types. Next slide. So our second goal is then to reduce the use through basic informed consent. And the warnings that are required under the court settlement that the FDA has published are that warning contains mercury, may be harmful if vapors are inhaled, do not use in persons with a known mercury allergy, do not place the device in direct contact with other metals in the mouth, and use with adequate ventilation. Next slide. So the second article will it asks 4 simple things: patients to get the same warning that dentists get, 2, to have this information posted and given to patients, 3, to sign a specific informed consent forms for putting in amalgam, but also for removal, because there are risks if it's removed not under safe protocols. And 4th, that there's a reasonable time frame of 6 months for the Board of Health to work on this. Next slide. Some of the questions, here's just examples. I think the Board of Health can do a better job in coming up with the specific questions to be asked in terms of amalgam removal. But 1, Does the dentist think it's a risk? If not, they may not take it as seriously as dentists that do. 2, do they use a rubber dam? 3, do they have a very powerful suction equipment? Do they apply lots of water when they remove it? Do they remove it in large sections? And do they use an alternative air sources? That patient has a cannula in the nose and is holding a suction device. That's not typical in most dental offices, at least in my experience. Next slide. So the third goal is to pass articles that will help improve our health and lower costs. And informed consent is really the first step that we can take. There are informed consent laws on the books in several New England states and California, and the Cradle of Liberty, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania as well. The latest survey showed that 53% of dentists don't use it anymore, so they know something about it that, they don't want to use it as much. And I just think that patients should get to know as much as our dentists do. And just, I think it's interesting. It's been banned in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark after being phased out over decades, and there are international phase-down processes underway. Next slide. There's one sticky wicket. Because of federal preemption, we may not be able to have this type of informed consent. The laws were passed before the last final ruling. So we're not asking to ban it. States that have tried to ban it said they couldn't because of federal preemption. And the Attorney General in Massachusetts will only rule on whether an informed consent bylaw is legal if this passes. So I've been working along with others with our state legislators and committee chairs, and they're quite interested in addressing this issue. It will really help to know if we are able to do this or not, because if not, we'll have to take further action at the state level and perhaps at the federal level as well. So that's why it's important to take action and to take action tonight so we get more information to proceed on the right path. And then we're wrapping up here. Next slide. The third article is very simple, that the town and the school just ask for quotes when they rebid their dental plans to get cost-neutral dental insurance options for employees. In the town and the school department, dental insurance is wholly paid for by the employee, so there's no additional cost to the town. It just gives the employee who wants it options of a better plan. And next slide. Why is this? Well, as some of you may know, dental plans now basically pay the same percentage for alternatives to amalgam, only in the front 6 teeth for cosmetic reasons. And in the back, they'll pay what they would for amalgam, but no more. And that could be even though you've paid in decades of premiums and that you have medical necessity and letters from your doctor and elevated mercury labs and other problems, you're just out of luck because it's standard of care. So we have this log jam. So what this does, unfortunately, it shifts the cost of illness to individuals, families, employers, the town, and our state and federal government. And then final slide. So again, to wrap up, our goals are very simple. It's not scientific or medical or technical. It's one, asking us to learn as a town on a voluntary basis and spread the word, because we have the log jam, to take that step and see if we can pass an informed consent bylaw in town. 2, to reduce this hidden river of mercury through informed consent. And 3, to pass these articles to improve health and lower our health care costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. I know you had a great deal of information. I appreciate your condensing it for the purposes of the meeting. We do have a couple people who prepared information to further our understanding of this, and I say to all speakers, just please bear in mind that the hour is late and that your comments will be more impactful if you keep them concise. Please, microphone 1.
Hi, my name is Helene Bednarsh, 247 East Foxborough Street. I'd just like to briefly establish my credentials, which bring me before you here at town meeting. I have a Bachelor of Science in Physiology, a degree in Dental Hygiene, a Master's of Public Health and Epidemiology, and Community Health Planning. I have 38 years in dental public health experience, including being a member of all major dental public health associations, an associate member of the American Dental Association, the Massachusetts Public Health Association, the American Public Health Association, and the Organization for Safety and Asepsis Procedures in Dentistry, which is the only dental infection control organization in the country, actually even recognized worldwide. My comments are relative to Articles 11, 12, and 13. I'd like to start out with the correction. The term is not mercury amalgam. It is amalgam. Amalgam is an alloy consisting of silver, tin, copper, and mercury. By weight, it is 50% mercury. It's weight, it's not composition. It's been in use for over 150 years and has been placed in millions of people. I'm going to try to make just a few points. I have other information, but because of the time, I want to start with the fact that evaluation of articles such as this should be evidence-based, as recognized by valid organizations, associations, and regulatory agencies. I question these articles as the authority of town meeting or the Board of Health in taking a lead role when the profession of dentistry in Massachusetts is regulated by the Board of Registration in Dentistry. Dental offices are regulated by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Healthcare Quality. We are not a state OSHA plan, so we have to follow federal OSHA guidelines, which are designed for worker protection, yes, in terms of the hazard communication standard, which is the material given to dentists to keep on file in dental offices, and I'm sure the fire department is quite aware of the material safety data sheet in terms of any exposure incident that occurs. That is not limited to amalgam. It includes any device regulated through the Federal Drug Administration, any type of material used in dentistry. Many of the allegations that have been presented, such as 53% of dentists not using amalgams, have been taken out of context. And actually in 2009, the FDA did issue their final rule that reclassified amalgam and had similar but not the exact words that have been proposed in these articles. The FDA nor the ADA does not restrict or offer to restrict the use of amalgam. They find that much of the allergy affiliated with it is due to other components because it is a composition. And there is also the practice in terms of the FDA medical devices has an adverse event reporting system that's designed to track unusual occurrences through the use of any medical device, including vaccines. I agree that mercury is a toxic element, otherwise it wouldn't be covered under the hazard communication standard. But the mechanisms that we have for containment, handling, disposal, and the type of class of license you need to haul amalgam from a dental office are very protective, including oral containment, which I believe another dentist will talk about. The warning to the dentist is different. It's required by the Occupational Safety and Health Act, passed in 1970 and amended throughout the years. The hazard communication applies to anybody using materials that could be of a hazard, or if you have an exposure, how to contain that exposure. In terms of the insurance plans offer many alternatives, different co-payments. They do offer composites. Some composites also carry warnings on those and have some health concerns. I have a lot of information I can present or answer questions. However, it's a very late hour. We're trying to finish tonight, but I did want to leave you with the fact that there are regulatory processes available. They are being followed, and that the evidence I have is evidence-based, and it is not based on organizations that are not recognized as scientific organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Jay Schwab, 34 Mallard Drive. I'm a retired pediatric dentist with a DMD from Tufts University and a master's in dental science from Boston University. I presently serve as the vice chairman of the Sharon Board of Health, but come before you not as a representative of that board, but as a concerned citizen. As the sole dentist on the Board of Health, I believe that it was my responsibility both to the Board of Health and to the citizens of Sharon to delve into the extensive research available on the amalgam issue. I've spent countless hours on the Internet since July when Laura Russell made her initial appearance before our board. I am not here to debate with Ms. Russell about the scientific aspects of this issue. Your Board of Health, after carefully discussing the 3 amalgam warrants before you, voted against all 3. Since that vote was taken on November 8, 2012, I have been in direct contact with both the American Dental Association and the Mass Dental Society. I would now like to read a brief statement provided to me by the Mass Dental Society. Statement by the Mass Dental Society on the dental amalgam issue dated November 2012. The Mass Dental Society supports the position of the American Dental Association and its Council on Scientific Affairs, which considers dental amalgam to be a safe, affordable, and durable material that has been used to restore the teeth of more than 100 million Americans. Dental amalgam, which has been used by dentists for more than a century, is the most thoroughly researched and tested restorative material of all those in use. Major scientific and research organizations in the United States and around the world, including the National Institutes of Health, the U.S. Public Health Service, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the World Health Organization, among others, have been satisfied that dental amalgam is a safe, reliable, and effective restorative material. Some concerns have been raised about amalgam because of its mercury content. Although mercury by itself is classified as a toxic material, the mercury in amalgam chemically combines with other metals to render it stable and therefore safe for use in accepted dental applications. It's important to note the mercury can also be found in food, water, and air, so there is always a very low level of mercury present in the human body. The fact is that the daily dosage of mercury from non-dental sources exceeds the minuscule amount released from dental amalgams. According to the American Dental Association, amalgam fillings are well tolerated by patients with only rare occurrences of allergic response. In recent years, several studies conducted have concluded that there is no evidence that dental amalgam causes any adverse health effects. This includes one in 2009 by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which reaffirmed its position that this material is a safe and effective restorative option for patients. The type of restorative materials used is a matter of choice. As with all procedures, the Mass Dental Society encourages patients to consult with their dentist to determine their best treatment options. Mrs. Russell, as a citizen in a democracy, has every right to advocate her viewpoint. However, I do not feel that passage of these warrants falls within the purview of Sharon's town meeting, and therefore I urge you to vote against them.
Thank you, Dr. Schwab. Microphone 2. Again, microphone 2.
Hi, Lynn Welbarst, 129 Hampton Road. I just want to say that I'm only speaking to Article 12, which would be the one requesting a warning, the same warning that the dentist gets for the patient.
For point of clarification, Ms. Russell's presentation was on Articles 11, 12, and 13, and I've been entertaining comments on all. We will need procedurally to read each motion in sequentially, but you're invited to comment on 11 through 13, but please continue. You of course, can speak to whatever you want, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, my point is just that I do not see the harm in alerting the patients, especially pregnant women and children and people that might be sensitive to mercury, of the fact of the FDA's own 2010 warning on the mercury. By doing this, the health board would only be implementing the FDA's own warning, which for whatever reason, be it cost or time, they haven't had the chance to go around the country and implement. And it's been done at the local level that we've exceeded what they're doing at the state and national level for safety in town. We've passed outdoor smoking laws, things that are much more stringent than federal or state law. And that's because these things move very slowly. The FDA and the ADA are very conservative organizations, and over half the dentists have stopped using mercury. Sweden, Norway, and Denmark have banned mercury amalgam from their practices. Now, whole countries, I don't think they're delusional. So that's my point, that I don't think the warning part of it would hurt anyone, and it would give consumers more information.
Thank you. Microphone 4.
Marilyn Kahn, 114 Ames Street. You got to think peanuts. Not too many people are allergic to peanuts, but would you not want the warnings on the packages that contain it so that the person who purchased that item knows what they're getting? So think about it. If there are a warning on the packages that come to the dentist, why shouldn't the patient know so that if he has an allergy, he will know? I've never had a dentist who told me that there was mercury in the filling he was giving me. It may not have mattered to me because I don't think I'm allergic to it. But think about it. If you're allergic to it, you should know.
Thank you. Seeing no further, you have a comment? Okay. Microphone 1.
I want to reiterate the point we made earlier. Ellie Hauser, 58 Ames Street. I just think it's just a totally inappropriate forum to have this conversation. Should we have notice for lead at the gas stations? We could make a motion for that. We could do the peanut thing and ask everybody to have notification of peanut use on everything. It's just the wrong forum. They're vehicles to have these introduced through the Board of Health, and they're experts whose job in life is to do these things and to help us. And we could regulate the heck out of everything we're doing in Sharon because it seems reasonable. That's point number 1. I just think it's the wrong forum, and I just think it's the wrong place. The other point would be that well, I think I'm going to wrap it with that. It's very late. Oh, that's what it was. Perhaps we should make a motion for indefinite postponement because there's a lot of information here that needs to be assumed. There have been no board meetings, no public hearings. The planning board has heard nothing about this supposition or this proposal from the applicant, and we're responsible for approving or disapproving dental facilities, the ZBA. So why haven't all the boards been involved in this? And I think that just showing up at town meeting one day and presenting a motion like this is just too much information. And maybe we should postpone it till next meeting or next year, and then we could walk through the town and people could hear it in a bigger forum rather than being forced to make a decision at 11 o'clock at night in a 20-minute, slam dunk kind of way.
Thank you.
So I hope you vote against it.
Thank you. There is no motion for indefinite postponement, but clearly a no vote would reject this motion. Microphone 4.
Hi, Susan Linehan, 3 Apple Lane. I've been following the mercury controversy for quite some time. I have a son who is 18 years old with autism, and mercury comes up on and on again about how mercury poisoning is actually, a lot of the characteristics are very similar to autism. And I mention that because a lot of people here, and I'm sure if I ask many of you, if you realize even the flu vaccine has mercury in it. And if you didn't know that, did you know that you can ask for a mercury-free vaccine shot? And I'm sure the town who gives out the vaccine shots all the time aren't telling people there's an option. So I feel like, Laura, there's no reason why not to inform people. It's not hurting anyone, but at least it's helping us think twice about what's going on. When I tell people all the time that, you can ask for a mercury-free shot, they're asking for mercury-free shots. We know mercury is dangerous, so why add another toxin into our body? Why take the chance? Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no one further at the microphones, we'll move to a vote on the motion connected to Article 11. Just voting on that one for the moment. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes. Yes.
Would you clarify
We're voting on the motion connected to Article 11. What would you, right? What would you? A yes vote?
You've got a conflict between the Finance Committee and
No, I don't believe so. But there seemed to be confusion a moment ago. Let's be clear. I will ask for the voice vote once again. We're simply voting on the motion connected to Article 11. All in favor, please say yes. Yes. All opposed, please say no. No. Okay, that motion fails to carry. Article 12, and Ms. Russell, I'd ask you to read that motion into the record.
Moved, Laura Russell, 615 Massapag Ave, that the town amend the general bylaws by adding a new Article 41 entitled Regulation of the Use of Dental Mercury Amalgam as follows. Section 1. All dental practices in the town of Sharon shall display health and safety warnings, contraindications, and precautions clearly visible and distributed to all patients on the use of mercury dental amalgam, comparable in wording and graphics to warnings placed by manufacturers on shipping dental amalgam, mercury, and amalgam alloy to dentists as required by the FDA. Warning, contains mercury. May be harmful if vapors are inhaled. Do not use in persons with a known mercury allergy. Do not place the device in direct contact with other types of metals. Use with adequate ventilation. Section 2. All dental practices in the town of Sharon shall display a health and safety warning clearly visible and distributed to all patients on the potential risks of repair, replacement, removal, and polishing of mercury dental amalgam with guidelines on questions to ask your dentist. Section 3. All dental practices in the town of Sharon shall be required to have patients sign specific informed consent forms with a copy to the patient and retained by the dentist before A, mercury dental amalgam materials may be placed in them, B, mercury dental amalgam may be repaired, replaced, removed, or polished, and C, mercury dental amalgam is placed or left to remain after any restorative dental work is completed in direct contact with other types of metals and teeth. Section 4. The Board of Health shall enforce the provisions of this bylaw and shall adopt appropriate policies and procedures to effectuate the purposes of this bylaw by July 1st, 2013. I just want to add one thing there.
Ms. Russell, why don't you read the motion,
sorry.
and I'll allow you to make a comment after the Finance Committee presents its position. Thank you. Oh, do I have a second for the motion? Thank you. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee believes that the regulation of the practice of dentistry is best done at state and federal levels. Since the printing of the warrant, the Finance Committee has reconsidered its 3-3 deadlock vote on this article and voted 0 in favor, 6 against, no abstentions.
Thank you. Please, Ms. Russell.
So, again, we're beginning a re-educational process here. What's happening tonight is what's been happening for the last 40 years whenever issues of concern about the safety amalgam come up. Relative to the last motion around Citizens United that got overwhelming support, it's instructive to know that in 2008, when the FDA lost a federal court settlement, campaign contributions shot up and have been maintained, in excess of $2.5 million a year. And I just have a statement that I'm reading from a dentist who used to live in Sharon, who practices in Attleboro and Seekonk, who says, "From my perspective, I look at risk-benefit trade-offs. There is no benefit using mercury-based restorations in light of toxicity issues. At the same time, there is significant risk in removing such restorations, including the possibility of pulp death to the tooth, requiring thousands of dollars to rectify. I believe that all patients should have significant written and oral informed consent prior to the placement of any and all restorations." That's what we're driving at here. I open a box of hair color, and it tells me to do a patch test 24 hours in advance. I get a prescription drug, and there are specific detailed warnings of the risks of side effects and a number to call and report if there are problems. There is a problem at the FDA regarding medical devices, and especially regarding oral medical devices. So whatever happens tonight in terms of the formal vote, I invite you to learn more about this over the next year and to start to work on our goals of learning, reducing its use, improving our health, and lowering our health care costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Jay Schwab, 34 Mallard Drive. Just briefly, unfortunately, people get decay and need their teeth restored. The two choice restorative materials are amalgam and composites. The amount of research on amalgam is far greater than the amount of research on composites or white fillings, and therefore restricting amalgams does not in any way solve the problem.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further comments, well, we have one more comment. Go ahead, microphone 2. Yep.
Make it very brief. Helene Bednarsh, 247 East Foxborough Street. In terms of informed consent can be a learning tool, I agree. There also is a consent to treatment when a treatment plan is proposed in a dental office, as somebody agrees to, that's considered informed consent. But to ask the Board of Health to go in and inspect for a specific consent in a dental office, I believe would be a violation of the HIPAA. And I think that we don't want to place ourselves in a serious violation of the HIPAA.
Thank you. Seeing no further comments, we'll move to a vote on Article 12, the motion connected Article 12. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no. No. The motion is rejected. It fails to carry by a majority vote. Article 13, Ms. Russell, if you could read that motion into the record, please.
Moved that the town vote to request the town Board of Selectmen and the school department, Sharon Public Schools, when it comes time to rebid their dental plans, to request quotes on cost-neutral plans that pay the same percentage towards all dental fillings, whether they are mercury amalgam or alternatives, in all teeth in any part of the mouth, and to offer such a plan to employees in addition to or instead of a non-cost neutral dental plan.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee feels that it is not the role of town meeting to select insurance plans for town employees. Finance Committee voted 1 in favor, 5 against, no abstentions.
Thank you. Comments on this article slash motion?
Say one thing? Okay.
You may.
As the wife of someone covered by a health plan, I am certainly working with my husband's employer to get them to offer more options. Delta Dental, when they denied my appeals twice, told me they'd be happy to provide a plan with other options if employers would ask for it. And some employers do, a very few. EMC Corporation has a plan. What is the problem with offering more choices to people when there's no cost to the town? And perhaps it's not such a bad idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Any further comments on Article 13? Okay, we'll move to a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, please say no.